There is a child in your arms. She is not heavy. 4-year-olds are not heavy. You know this now. Know it in your shoulders and your back and the particular muscle above your hip that has learned her shape the way it learns nothing else. She fits against you the way she has always fit against you, the way she fit on the first day, the way she will always fit. Her hair is against your cheek. Her breathing is slow. She is almost asleep. The ship is going down. You are singing to her. This is a story about the most ordinary thing in the world, which is a mother and her child, and about one night in April 1912, when that ordinary thing was set against something extraordinary. Her name was Brigid. She was 26 years old, from a small parish outside Cove in County Cork, Ireland, and she had never been on a ship before the Titanic. Her daughter's name was Eileen. Eileen was 3 years and 8 months old and had her mother's eyes and her father's nose and a habit of asking why about everything twice, in case the first answer had been insufficient. Her father, Seamus, had gone ahead 6 months earlier. That was how it was done. The husband went first, found work, saved money, sent for the family when there was enough to send for them. He was in Boston, working in construction and living in a boarding house with 4 other Irishmen from the same county. He had sent 2 letters and a photograph and the money for 2 tickets on the finest ship in the world. Brigid had packed everything they owned into 1 trunk and 1 bag. The trunk had gone into the hold. The bag she kept with her because the bag had the photograph, and the photograph was not going into any hold. She was going to America. She was going to her husband. She was going to find out what a new life felt like when you were finally standing inside it. She had 4 days left to find out. In this story, you are the mother. The child is yours. This is the longest night. You dressed Eileen in the dark, not because you had to. It was early, earlier than you needed to be up. But sleep had stopped coming somewhere around 3 in the morning. And after an hour of lying in the dark of your mother's house, listening to Eileen breathe in the cot beside you, you got up. You dressed yourself first. Quietly, the familiar movements made strange by the knowledge that you were doing them for the last time in this room. Then you lifted Eileen, still sleeping, and began. The good dress, the one your mother had pressed twice the night before. Pressing it a 3rd time would have been too much, but you could see she wanted to. The white stockings, the small brown boots that took too long to button, and that Eileen had an opinion about whenever you put them on her. An opinion that was mostly expressed through a specific kind of stillness, a dignified suffering. She slept through all of it, even the boots. And you sat in the chair by the window with her in your lap, already dressed, already gone, in some sense that you couldn't explain. And you looked out at the gray morning coming in over the fields, and you tried to fix it. The fields, the particular gray of that sky, the sound of the house settling around you, your mother's breathing from the next room. You tried to fix it in a way that would stay fixed, that you could carry with you across the ocean and take out on the difficult days, the homesick days, the days when America felt too large and too foreign and too far from everything you had known. You don't know yet if it stayed fixed. You were trying. Your mother came in at 5:30. She didn't say anything for a moment, just stood in the doorway, looking at you with Eileen in your lap, both of you dressed, at the room already half empty with the packed trunk and the packed bag, the particular emptiness of a space that someone is leaving. Then she said, "You'll write." Not a question, a requirement. You said every week. She nodded. She came and took Eileen from your arms without asking, which was her right, which was the grandmother's right, and she held her for a long time with her face turned away from you so you couldn't see her face. You looked out the window at the gray fields and let her have that. Eileen woke up in your mother's arms and said, "Gran, your hair is funny." Your mother laughed. You laughed. Eileen looked pleased with herself. An hour later, you were on the road to Cove. Eileen sees the Titanic from the tender boat and goes completely silent. This is remarkable because Eileen is not a silent child. She has been talking since she woke up this morning, a continuous stream of observation and question and commentary that you have been responding to with half your attention, while the other half managed the trunk and the bag and the tickets and the crowd and the organized chaos of departure. She talked on the road. She talked in Cove. She talked on the tender, the small boat that carries third-class passengers out to the ship, sitting on your lap with her hands on the railing and pointing at everything and asking what and why and what's that and why is it doing that. Then the Titanic comes into view above them and Eileen stops talking. She stares up at it with her mouth slightly open. The ship is enormous in a way that the word enormous does not quite cover. It is enormous in the way that certain things are enormous when you are small, when you have no frame of reference for anything of that scale, when your entire experience of the world has been sized for a child, and then suddenly something arrives that is sized for something else entirely, something much larger than people. You watch her face. Then she turns to you and points up at the black hull rising above the tender, and she says, "Is that our house?" You pull her closer and put your mouth against the top of her head and feel the warmth of her hair against your lips. "For a little while," you say, "just for a little while." The third-class accommodation on the Titanic is better than what you expected and better than anything you have heard about other ships. The cabin is small but real. Walls, a door that closes, 2 proper bunks with mattresses. You have heard stories of crossings in open dormitories, of hundreds of people in one room, of conditions that strip the dignity from the journey before it had even properly begun. This is not that. Eileen inspects everything. The bunks, which she climbs up and down 3 times before you make her stop. The small porthole, which shows a circle of sky and nothing else. The hook on the wall where you hang the bag with the photograph in it. She finds the photograph. She looks at it for a moment with the serious attention she gives to things she is genuinely considering. Head slightly tilted, lower lip pushed forward. Then she says, "Da has a hat." You look at the photograph. Seamus in his good coat and his good hat as standing in front of something American, a building you don't recognize, wide steps, a city behind him. He does have a hat. You say, he does. You'll see it soon. Eileen nods, satisfied, and hands the photograph back. By the second day, Eileen has made friends. This does not surprise you. Eileen has always moved toward other children, the way water moves toward low ground, without effort, without strategy, simply following the natural direction. In the third-class common areas, there are children from a dozen countries, children who speak Irish and English and Swedish and Italian and languages you cannot identify. And Eileen moves among them with the complete confidence of a child who has not yet learned that language difference is supposed to be a barrier. You watch her from the bench along the wall. She has found a Swedish girl about her age, small and blonde, and the two of them are engaged in some kind of game that appears to require pointing at things and laughing, and a game that requires no shared language because the pointing and the laughing are the whole of it. The Swedish mother is on the bench beside you. You don't share a language either, not really. Her English is as uncertain as yours is in unfamiliar company, but you exchange the look that mothers exchange across every language, the look that means ours. The days have a rhythm. Meals in the third-class dining room, which is loud and warm and smells of food and people. Eileen eating with the focused application she brings to anything she finds interesting, and leaving the things she doesn't find interesting in a small architectural arrangement at the edge of her plate. Time in the common room, time on the cheek when the weather allows, which it does on the first 2 days. Cold, sharp, the Atlantic wind finding every gap in your coat, but bright, the sun on the water, making everything glitter. Eileen wants to see a whale. This is her primary goal for the crossing, stated on the first morning and repeated at intervals. She has been told that there are whales in the ocean. She wants to see one. You stand at the railing with her on your hip, and you both look at the water, and there are no whales. And Eileen regards this as a temporary situation that will resolve itself if she continues watching. You look at the water and you think about Seamus. 6 months is a long time. You have the letters and the photograph and the specific memory of him, the way he laughs, the way he reaches for your hand without looking, the way he is with Eileen, the particular gentle patience of a man with his daughter. And you have been keeping this memory carefully, at the way you keep something that matters, taking it out and checking it and putting it back. 6 months has not faded it, but it has made it two-dimensional in a way that frightens you slightly, made it a photograph rather than a person, and you are hungry for the person again, for the three-dimensional Seamus who breathes and argues and makes tea wrong and is simply, physically there. Soon, you think. 10 more days, perhaps less. Soon. On the 3rd evening, you put Eileen to bed early because the day has been long, and she is tired in the way children get tired when they have used everything they have, completely, honestly, not a drop left. She goes into sleep the way she goes into everything, fully, without reservation, curled on her side, with one hand under her cheek. You sit on the edge of the bunk and you watch her breathe. And you have been watching her breathe since the first night of her life, since they put her in your arms in the small bedroom of your mother's house, and you looked at this new person and understood, with a totality that you had not been warned about, that everything had changed. Not just your circumstances, you. The center of you had moved, relocated without asking your permission, and it now lived in this small breathing person and would live there for the rest of your life. She breathes in. She breathes out. You watch. Outside the porthole, the North Atlantic is dark and cold and very large, and in 10 days, perhaps less, your husband is waiting, and the new life is waiting, and everything that comes after is waiting. But right now, there is just this: the breathing, the small hand under the cheek. This is enough. This is everything. You put her down at 8:30. The routine is the same as it is every night, as it has been every night of her life. The washing of the face and the hands, the changing into the nightdress, the climbing into the bunk with the small blanket she has carried since she was an infant. A blanket that was white once and is now the color of something that has been washed many times and loved more than it has been washed. She calls it the soft one. You have never called it anything else. She is tired tonight. The day has been full. The Swedish girl again. A long morning on deck. Eileen running until you caught her twice, and the 3rd time she let you catch her because she was ready to be caught. She ate well at dinner. Her eyes are already heavy as you settle the blanket around her. "Mammy," she says. "What?" "Will Da be at the boat?" Oh, you have explained this before, that the boat docks in New York and Boston is further, that Da will come to New York, or you will take a train to Boston, that there are steps between the boat and Da, and that all the steps will be taken. But Eileen is 3 years and 8 months old, and the logistics of transatlantic travel are not fully within her grasp. And also, she asks this every night, and every night you tell her, "He'll be waiting for us as soon as we get there. With his hat," she says. "With his hat," you say. She closes her eyes. You put your hand on her hair and begin to sing. The song is one your mother sang to you, which her mother sang to her, which goes back further than anyone can trace in your family. An Irish song about the sea and coming home. The melody slow and circular, at the kind of melody that asks nothing of the listener except to let it carry them. Your voice is not trained. It is simply yours. The voice you use for Eileen, the one that exists only in these moments, lower than your speaking voice, softer, the voice that says, "You are safe. I am here. There is nothing required of you now except sleep." Eileen's breathing slows. Her hand finds your fingers and wraps around two of them, the grip loose and warm, the grip of a child who is almost gone. You sing until she is fully asleep. Then you sit for a while longer in the dark, her hand still around your fingers, the ship moving through the Sunday night ocean beneath you, and you think about nothing in particular, which is its own kind of rest. There is a thing that happens to you sometimes when Eileen is newly asleep in your arms or beside you, a feeling that you have never found the right word for. It is not happiness exactly, although it contains happiness. It is not peace, although it contains peace. It is something more specific than either of those, a kind of fullness, a sense of the moment being complete in itself, not requiring anything before it or after it, simply present and sufficient. You felt it the night she was born. You feel it now. In the morning, she will wake up and want porridge and ask about whales and run on the deck and argue about the brown boots and be fully and loudly herself. But right now, she is asleep and her hand is warm around your fingers and the ship is moving through the dark and you are here. You are here. You blow out the small lamp. You lie down beside her. You sleep. Something wakes you, not a sound, or not only a sound. Something that travels through the bunk and the wall and the floor. A vibration with a quality you have never felt before, lasting 3 seconds, perhaps 4, and then gone. The ship does not make this feeling. In 4 days, you have learned the ship, its engine rhythm, its movement through the water, the specific language of a very large vessel at sea. And this is not part of that language. You are awake completely, not the slow surfacing of ordinary waking, but the instant total alertness of a mother whose child is nearby, and something has changed. You look at Eileen. She is awake. She is sitting up in the bunk, looking at you with the expression she uses when something has happened that she does not have a category for yet. Not frightened, not all but certain, at waiting for you to provide the category. "Mammy," she says. The boat made a noise. "I know," you say. "What was it?" You look at her in the dark of the cabin. Her hair is messy from the pillow. The soft one is bunched in her fist. She is waiting for your answer with the patience she reserves for questions she genuinely wants answered, not the impatient asking she does. when she already half knows. I don't know yet, you say. Lie down. I'm not tired, she says, which means she is tired. Close your eyes anyway, you say. I'll be right back. She lies down with the solemnity of someone doing a favor. You put the blanket back around her and touch her hair once and stand up and go into the corridor. The corridor is awake in a way that corridors at midnight are not supposed to be. Not chaos. Not yet. Nothing like that. But wrong. The quality of wrong that you feel before you can name it, before the specific details assemble themselves into an explanation. Doors open, faces. A woman from 3 cabins down, standing in her doorway, in her nightdress, holding a baby on her hip. At the far end of the corridor, a steward moving quickly in the direction that stewards are not supposed to move quickly. You take all of this in. You go back to your cabin. You begin to get dressed. You dress Eileen before yourself. This is instinct, not decision. Your hands are already reaching for her clothes before you have fully thought about why, and Eileen, to her credit, seems to understand that this is not the time for her usual opinions about the brown boots. She sits on the edge of the bunk and holds still while you put on the vest and the dress and the thick woolen jumper, the warmest thing she has, the one your mother knitted last winter in the particular green that Eileen had chosen herself from the wool shop, pointing at it with the certainty she brings to preferences. The boots. You button every button, then your own coat, your own boots, the bag with the photograph, over your shoulder. You look around the cabin. The trunk is in the hold. The trunk does not matter. And you look at the bunk where Eileen was sleeping an hour ago and you fix it. The dent in the pillow, the rumpled blanket, the soft one still on the mattress. You take the soft one. You push it into the bag. Are we going to see the stars? Eileen asks. She remembers. You told her this once, a week ago, in Cove, that from a ship at night you can see more stars than from land because there is nothing to interrupt the sky. She has been waiting for this. Yes, you say, we're going to see the stars. Her face does the thing it does when something she has been waiting for is finally arriving. A brightness that starts in her eyes and reaches her whole face before she can control it, before she even tries to control it. The unguarded joy of a child who has not yet learned to moderate her happiness. You take her hand, and you go into the corridor. You move toward the stairs. The third-class passengers are being moved toward the upper decks, but the information moving among them is incomplete, and the instructions are unclear, and the stairways that connect the third-class areas to the boat deck are not the stairways that the first-class passengers use, and some of them are gated. You will learn this later, that the layout of the ship, which divided its passengers so thoroughly in life, was dividing them now in this, that the people in the lower decks were being asked to find their way through a ship they had not been shown, in the dark, with a child, with a trunk of everything they owned, somewhere in the hold of a vessel that was taking on water at a rate the pumps could not manage. You don't know any of this yet, and you know the corridor and the stairs and Eileen's hand in yours and the movement of people around you, all going up, all going towards something that you hope is better than where you are. Eileen is walking fast to keep up with you. You slow down. You always slow down for her, even now. The cold is a wall. You come through the door onto the boat deck, and it hits you with the full force of the North Atlantic in April at midnight, which is a cold that does not negotiate, does not offer a period of adjustment, simply arrives everywhere at once. Your face, your hands, the strip of neck above your collar, the air in your lungs, which feels different cold than air, sharper, like breathing something that was not designed to be breathed. Eileen makes a sound against your shoulder. You had picked her up at the top of the last staircase because she was tiring, and you were frightened, and you needed her close, needed the weight of her in your arms, and the warmth of her against your chest, needed the proof of her that only holding her provides. She is pressed against you now, her face turned into your neck, her arms around you, and her legs around your hip. "It's cold," she says, muffled. "I know," you say. "Hold on tight." "I am," she says. She is. The deck is chaos that is trying not to be chaos. There are officers, and there are crew, and there are hundreds of people in various states of understanding and dress, and the lifeboats are being uncovered, and the davits are moving, and somewhere in the organized noise of all of this, there is a sound that you are trying not to listen to, which is the sound of people who know more than you do about what is happening and are responding to that knowledge with their bodies. You look at the lifeboats. You look at Eileen's face against your neck. You move toward the boats. There is a particular courage that has nothing to do with the absence of fear. You are afraid. You have been afraid since the corridor, and since the steward who wouldn't meet your eyes, since the moment you buttoned Eileen's boots in the dark of the cabin with your hands not quite steady. The fear is real, and it is large, and it is entirely appropriate to the situation. But Eileen is in your arms, and the boat is there, and between the fear and the boat, there is only you, and so you move. That is all courage is, sometimes. The fear on one side and the necessary thing on the other, and you in the middle, moving. The officer at the lifeboat has a voice that carries. Women and children first. He is saying it not as an announcement, but as a direction, as a practical instruction, moving the crowd with his voice and his arms, creating an order out of the press of bodies. Men are stepping back, some of them willingly, and some of them with the specific expression of men who are doing the hardest thing they have ever done, and are doing it quietly, without drama, with only their faces to show what it costs. You see a man give his wife his coat. He takes it off and wraps it around her, and then he steps back into the crowd of men who are stepping back, and she turns and looks at him, and you look away, because that look is not for you. You hold Eileen tighter. Move forward, please. Women and children, you move forward. Eileen has lifted her head from your neck to look at things, because Eileen always lifts her head to look at things. The curiosity stronger than the cold, and the strangeness, and the fear she picks up from the people around her without knowing what it is. And she is looking at the lifeboat, at the wooden shape of it hanging above the water on its ropes, at the people already inside it, at the black ocean far below. "We're going in that?" she says. "Yes," you say. "Why?" The first why. There will be a second. "Because it's an adventure," you say. She considers this. You reach the officer. He looks at Eileen and looks at you and nods, and there are hands helping you. And then you are in the boat, sitting on the hard wooden bench with Eileen in your lap. And the boat is full of women, and the boat is full of children, and the ropes begin to move. You look back at the deck as the boat descends. The men are still there, dozens of them, standing at the railing, looking down at the boats. Some of them are looking for specific faces in the boats. You can see it, the searching quality of it, at the eyes moving from person to person. Some of them have found the face and are holding it, the eye contact sustained across the narrowing distance between the deck and the water. One man raises his hand. A woman in the boat near you makes a sound that is not a word. The boat keeps descending. Eileen is watching the water come closer with the expression of someone on a ride they are not sure they approved of. You put your mouth against her hair. You do not make a sound. The lifeboat hits the water, and the impact travels through the bench and into your spine, and Eileen grabs your coat with both hands. "We're in the water," she says. "We're in the water," you confirm. "Why?" Second why, as expected. You hold her against you, and the oars begin to move. The crewmen rowing, the boat pulling away from the ship, the black water opening up between you and the hull. The Titanic is lit up above you in a way that seems wrong for something that is sinking, all its lights burning, every porthole glowing, as if the inside of it is refusing to accept what the outside knows. The music is still playing. You can hear it from the water, faint, carried on the cold air, a melody you almost recognize. Eileen is looking up at the ship. She has been on this ship for 4 days. To her, it is not an abstraction, and not the most famous ship in the world, not the Titanic. It is the place where she slept and ate and ran on the deck and looked for whales and made a friend who didn't speak her language. It is, as she said on the first day, the house for a little while. "Mammy," she says. "What, love? Is the ship coming with us?" The oars move. The distance grows. You pull Eileen closer and you wrap your coat around her as much as you can, and you feel the cold of the water through the wood of the bench and the cold of the air on your face. And you look at the ship and you say, "No, just us. We're going ahead." She thinks about this. Ahead to dock? Ahead to D, you say? She nods. She settles back against you. She accepts this. Children accept things that adults cannot. This is not because they don't feel them. Eileen feels everything. And you have always known this about her. She is a child of large feelings that she carries openly because she has not yet learned to put them away. But she accepts the present moment in a way that you have spent years trying to learn and have not managed. She is in a boat on the ocean in the middle of the night, and it is cold, and the ship is behind them, and Da is ahead, and Mammy is holding her, and this is what is. She is in it. She is nowhere else. You could learn this from her. You are trying to, right now, in this boat, in this dark. You hold her, and you try to be only here. The Titanic's lights go out, all at once. The whole ship, every porthole, every deck light, the entire blazing presence of it, extinguished in a single moment. And the dark that follows is the most complete dark you have ever experienced. A dark with weight to it, and a dark that seems to press against your eyes. Eileen has been asleep. She has been asleep against your chest for nearly an hour. The cold and the motion of the boat and the lateness of the hour combining to pull her under in the way that exhaustion pulls children under, completely, without resistance. You have been sitting with her in your arms, the blanket you found in the lifeboat, wrapped around both of you, her face against your heart. You feel her stir when the lights go out. "Mammy," she says, not fully awake. "The lights." "I know," you say. "They went off." "I know, love." A pause. She is deciding whether to wake up fully or go back under. "Will they come back on?" she asks. You look at where the ship was. There is no ship, and there is only the dark and the water and a sound coming from the direction of the dark. A sound you will spend the rest of your life trying not to hear. And the boat around you full of women who are very still. "Shh," you say. "Close your eyes." "But the lights." "Close your eyes," you say. "I'll sing." A breath, a small shifting of her weight against you. Then she closes her eyes. You begin to sing, the same song as always, the one from your mother and your mother's mother, the slow, circular melody about the sea and coming home. Your voice is not steady. You can feel the unsteadiness in it, the places where it wants to break and where you will not let it break. Not now, not here, not in front of her. You sing. Around you, The other women are silent. In the silence, the singing carries out across the water into the dark, over whatever is happening in the dark, over all of it. Eileen's weight in your arms grows heavier. She is going back under. You sing her down. This is the thing about a lullaby. It is not for the child, not entirely. The child receives it, yes. The melody, the rhythm, the specific frequency of the mother's voice that reaches something in the child that nothing else quite reaches. But the singing is also for the one who sings. The act of it, the forcing of the breath into shape, the choosing of the notes, the continuation. This is what keeps the singer present, keeps her here, keeps her in her body and in her arms, and in this moment rather than in the dark ahead. You sing because Eileen needs you to sing. You sing because you need to sing. These are not different things. The boat moves through the dark, and your voice moves through the cold air. She sleeps. The sky lightens so slowly that at first you think you are imagining it. A gray at the edge of the dark that might be nothing, might be your eyes adjusting, might be the particular cruelty of hope in a very long night. But it persists, this gray, and then it deepens into something that is not quite light, but is the promise of light. The sky warming from black to the color of old iron, and then to the color of slate, and then slowly, slowly to the color of the inside of a shell. Eileen is still asleep. She has been asleep for 3 hours, her weight shifting with the movement of the boat, but never waking, her breathing slow and even against your chest. Your arms stopped hurting an hour ago, which is a bad sign. The cold has moved past the point of pain into numbness, and you cannot feel your hands where they wrap around her, but you are not loosening them. You are not loosening them. Someone in the boat says, "A ship." You look up. In the gray morning, at a distance that is hard to judge in this light, there are lights, moving lights, the lights of a vessel underway coming toward you. The Carpathia, though you don't know her name yet, she is just lights, just the most beautiful lights you have ever seen, approaching across the water with the particular intention of something that knows where it is going and what it is coming for. Around you in the boat, women begin to cry. Not loudly, not dramatically. The quiet crying of people who have been holding themselves together for hours and have found the moment where they no longer have to. The specific release of a tension so long sustained that you stop being aware of it until it loosens. You don't cry. You look at the lights and you hold Eileen and you don't cry because she is still asleep and she has not cried once tonight. And you are not going to be the one who wakes her with tears. There will be time for that later. There will be time for all of it later. She wakes up when the lifeboat comes alongside the Carpathia. The noise of it, the voices, the ropes. Something reaches through her sleep and brings her up. and she lifts her head from your chest and looks around at the ship above them and the water and the morning sky with the clear-eyed confusion of a child waking in an unexpected place. Then she looks at you. She looks at your face for a long moment, reading it the way children read their mother's face, of finding in it the information she needs about the state of the world. You look back at her. You try to give her only what she needs. You try to put in your face only the things that are true and the things that will help, that you are here, that you are holding her, that the night is over, that the lights above them are a ship and the ship is safe and you are going to climb up to it together. She reaches up and puts her small cold hand against your cheek. You close your eyes. "Mammy," she says, "you're cold." "I know," you say. "I'll warm you," she says. And she presses herself more firmly against your chest. And you let her. And the ropes come down from the Carpathia. And you go up. The morning is cold and pale and very quiet. You are on a ship that is not the ship you boarded in Southampton. And your trunk is on the floor of the North Atlantic. The photograph is in the bag on your shoulder. Eileen is in your arms. She is asking about breakfast. She is asking if there will be porridge. She is asking if they are nearly at Da. You answer her. You answer all of it. Later, much later, when she is grown, and you have told her this story many times, told it the way you tell the stories that shaped you carefully, making sure nothing essential is lost. She will ask you what you were thinking in the boat, in the dark, when the lights went out. You will tell her the truth. You were thinking about her hair against your cheek. You were thinking about her hand around your fingers. You were thinking this, only this. A note of history. Brigid and Eileen are fictional, but they are not invented. They are assembled from the records of the real women and children who traveled in third class on the Titanic's maiden voyage, the Irish immigrants, the Swedish families, the Lebanese merchants, the people for whom a ticket on the finest ship in the world represented something it could never represent for the passengers above them, everything they had. Of the 709 third-class passengers on the Titanic, approximately 174 survived. The survival rate for third-class passengers was roughly 25%, compared to 62% for first class. The reasons are documented. The third-class areas were further from the boat deck. The instructions given to third-class passengers were slower in coming and less clear when they arrived. And in some of the gates between the lower decks and the upper were locked or unattended in the critical early hours. The survival rate for children traveling with their mothers was significantly higher than for other passengers. Of the children in lifeboats, the overwhelming majority were with their mothers when they boarded. The act of a mother placing her child in a boat or placing herself and her child in a boat together appears again and again in survivor testimony. The lullabies that were sung in the lifeboats on the night of April 14th are not recorded, but they were sung. Survivors mentioned them decades later in interviews given when they were old as one of the things they remembered from the boats. A woman singing to a child, the sound of it across the water. The Carpathia, commanded by Captain Arthur Rostron, and received the Titanic's distress signal at 12:25 a.m. and immediately turned toward the coordinates, pushing her engines beyond their rated capacity to reach the survivors as quickly as possible. She arrived at the scene at 4:10 a.m. and spent several hours recovering survivors from the lifeboats. Of the 710 people rescued by the Carpathia, many were mothers with children. Some of them were going to husbands in America. Some of the husbands were waiting on the docks in New York when the Carpathia arrived, having read the news in the papers, not knowing. Some of them found their families. Some of them did not. The soft blankets, the brown boots, the photographs carried in bags. These things are not recorded either, but they were there. They are always there. They are the things people carry when they carry everything they have. And for every mother who held on, good night.